go ahead. It's not nearly as much fun. So we might have to have you back for a second visit or something.
There you go. Always like that, Liz.
All right, great. Well, welcome, Senator Tester. I know you are busy, a busy guy right now, and we really appreciate your spending time with us. Can you hear me okay?
I can hear you. Yes, I can.
Okay.
Yeah.
So do you want to just give us a few minutes of your thoughts? We do have some questions, as you know, but if you could just kind of tell us how things are going, what you're thinking about right now.
Well, look, I don't want to alarm anybody, so don't take this an alarm, because I'm sure you guys have figured this out long before today. But you know, we've been behind the curve on this coronavirus thing since the beginning, and it's a little disconcerting for me because you know, being the richest country in the world, to be able to be caught so flat-footed on this particular issue really makes me wonder what else is out there that we're not paying attention to, because obviously the fact that the pandemic component of CDC was shut down was not a smart thing to do back in 2017. And so consequently, we're in a position where, and this isn't breaking news, we're in a position where we've got healthcare professionals who do not have the protective equipment they need. From the beginning, we have been absolutely in the wrong position when it comes to the testing. We haven't had enough of them. It's been crazy. So that's been a little disconcerting. We passed, not a little disconcerting, it's been a lot disconcerting, because there's so much unknown with this virus. And we have seen over the last month, for sure, the economy shut down for obvious reasons, as we've had to social distance and try to bend the curve on this virus to the best of our ability. I think that the package we passed is an okay package. Look, I voted for the damn thing, so I've got to think it's pretty good. But how this package is implemented is going to make a determination whether this money gets wasted or not. It is $2.2 trillion, which is the largest stimulus package, I think, a large package ever passed, as far as our government goes. I can tell you that the package has a lot of money in it that was put in places that I didn't think it should have been put in, but nonetheless, it did help support unemployed people, sick people, small businesses, universities, K-12 education, and most importantly, healthcare facilities. So it's got that in it. So how can you not vote for that? So that's my overall take. There's stuff in it for food banks. There's certainly stuff in it for mental health, which is also very, very positive. There's certainly stuff in it to keep unemployed people so they've got income coming in as good as if they had a job. Those benefits were plussed up. You know, I guess we are where we are. What I want to hear from you guys is what are you concerned about? Look at this stuff. I'm going to tell you, watch this. Can you believe that?
Look at you.
Unbelievable.
That's so great.
Unbelievable. And to think that I'm a tech nerd and I got this thing to work is unbelievable. At any rate,
to get back to what I was talking about, now they shut my phone off so you won't get the feedback, is that there's some decent stuff in this package, but it's $2.2 trillion, and it's a lot of money. And so consequently, we are putting a lot of pressure on the administration right now to make sure it's as user-friendly as possible for small businesses and unemployed folks. We're putting a lot of pressure on the administration to make sure that we can get the personal protective equipment out to our hospitals and our first responders and our docs and our nurses. And so we're continuing to push wherever we're getting input from Montanans. And so why this call was so important to me is you guys deal with Montanans that quite frankly need help more than anybody. At least that's my perspective. And you're touching people who need to be touched. And so I need to get your perspective as to what's working in this bill, if you can even make that analysis right now. What isn't working in this bill? And I'm not telling you that there's going to be another bill come down the line. I think there's probably a 50-50 chance that might happen. But if there is another bill coming down the line, and you were king of the world and you could wave a magic wand over it, what would be in it?
So thank you, and I'll talk for just a couple of minutes, and because I know others will have questions as well. So I think there are two different sets of information we're paying attention to. One is, how is this for nonprofit employers? There are 2,200 nonprofit employers in the state with 11% of the employment base. And so all of a sudden, nonprofits are navigating a commerce world that we're not accustomed to. We're not accustomed, even with employees, we're not accustomed to loans and that whole situation. And so we're thinking about smaller nonprofits that aren't as sophisticated, and everyone is scrambling for navigation and how to make decisions. The crosshatch between unemployment and relief in the PPP loans and the EIDL and all that, and how you make those decisions without eliminating yourself from one important thing if you make the wrong decision. So I think navigation is a huge issue, and those that are more savvy are going to have, they're going to be at the front of the line. And so we're concerned about rural nonprofits, Indian country, and the ability of Montana's smaller nonprofits to, have some space with the national clamor. Already we know that it's just harder. We're all rural in Montana, and then some of us are really rural. And so that is an issue. I think the lack of internet and broadband is an issue. People, Eastern Montana, they're calling in for meetings from their car because, maybe the internet isn't great, and they're paying extra to do that, so, and then trying to see families, and families are having to pay in some places extra internet for school, so their kids can continue school. So that's an issue. I think for the biggest concern that we've heard from nonprofits, if we're asking about how are the people, there's the whole set of concerns about, will I be able to survive this as a business? And, we're dealing with that, but especially with fundraising, because that's such a part of the nonprofit revenue stream, even for employers. So, but how are, people are isolated, stressed. That ability to deliver telehealth, mental health, I think is a really, really big deal in Montana. And to try to get eyes on the family. People are worried about kids that, that have a safety net around school or other kinds of things, and the inability to see them. Lots of concern about food, but the community right now is really rallying forth on that. And there's just a ton of innovative and entrepreneurial kinds of things happening around food and other kinds of services. But certainly concern for the clients, especially those, with mental illness and things like that. And then the other issue, of course, is safety for those who are still frontline. How can they get, cleaning supplies? It is really mind-boggling that in this country, we're worried about how to get Lysol and cleaning supplies and things like that into those places that serve disabilities or young moms in a residential setting, that kind of thing.
Yeah, I mean, I hear you. I mean, I absolutely hear you. The issue around getting goods, keep areas clean from the
Yeah.
virus is an ongoing challenge, I think, all across the country, and Montana certainly not exempt from that. The broadband issue is an issue that is it's important because look, if there's $20 billion setting in the FCC and USDA, and we were pushing them to get that out. Now that the map should be in a position where we're not overbuilding, not spending money overbuilding, but spending money actually getting service out to areas that don't have high-speed internet. But the fact is that isn't going to be done before this crisis is over. It's probably not going to be done a year from now, quite frankly. But the truth is that those additional costs are a big deal, especially especially for the areas that don't have high income to begin with. So we're probably going to have to be doing something about that. So.
Can I comment?
Sure.
This is Barb Mettler, and I'm the Executive Director of the Mental Health Center here in Billings. It goes even more basic than wideband and everything else. A lot of our folks don't have phones, and we are fortunately able to now bill Medicaid for doing therapy sessions on the phone, but we can't get hold of them. And if they do have a phone, oftentimes it's those ones with the minutes where they're limited, and they could use up all of their minutes in a session with a clinician. And with the governor wanting us to stay out of the public and all that kind of good stuff, we need to have a way to be in touch with them and to check on them because they are very vulnerable.
I couldn't agree with you more, Bob. I wasn't aware of the no phone situation, but make no mistake about it, you know better than anybody that the isolation can compound problems, and if these folks don't have a way to be touched by somebody, we're asking for a disaster.
I would say too that we are working with a number of foundations, and Montana Community Foundation has set up a fund for parts of Montana that aren't touched, that aren't covered by other community funds that are in place, like the Billings Community Foundation. So there may be some things that the foundation community can do if you can communicate with MNA about what those big needs are, because they're asking. Senator, I would like to go back to the SBA conversation. The word was that everybody would be open this morning, putting the loans through, and that the system would crash by noon, but instead, apparently, like, the loans aren't going through right now. So that's one thing, is just, is there real support for the SBA to pull this off? And then the second thing is, the kind of hurry up, like the toilet paper thing, hurry up and get yours because there won't be any left. Is there thinking about if people apply for, if businesses, employers apply for loans and at some point it's like there's no more money, is there any talk about how to handle that? Because I think that would settle things down a little bit.
Well, I can tell you, first of all, there's a lot of money in this fund. That being said, that if it were to run out and be inadequate, I think that there would be plenty of impetus to reestablish more dollars into that.
Okay.
I think there'd be plenty of bipartisan support to do that. I would also tell you that this actually was brought up before we even passed the bill. If SBA or any of the agencies had capacity to be able to get this money out the door. I'm going to tell you that there's some good things and there's some bad things that have happened. The good thing is that hopefully people understand that public employees are a worthwhile commodity to have, and we shouldn't be treating them like throwaways. And every time we have a shortfall in the budget, we shouldn't be cutting public employees or cutting their wages or cutting their jobs. That's a good thing because maybe there's an understanding there. The second thing is that, and I know a week doesn't sound like a lot, but we were working on this bill 10 days before we passed it. So they've had damn near 3 weeks now, and if not all 3 weeks, to get it figured out. Everybody knew we were going to pass another package as soon as we passed the second one. And so does SBA have the ability? Look, we put some money in for support. They need to get it so it works. Now, I will tell you that I have heard a lot of really good stories today from folks that have been on the phone all day long, from folks who have accessed the SBA and gotten approval within an hour or two.
Great.
And so There are some good stories. There's also some horror stories out there that people are waiting on hold for 5 hours and couldn't get through. And there's got to be. Well, I'm not looking for perfection. I'm just looking for it to be done right.
For it to work, yeah, yeah. Well, we're just letting folks know, go see your lender, or if you don't have a close relationship with a lender, to work with your board or whatever, because that's, that's the navigation system right now.
And I've had conversations with the bankers too, because I sit on the banking committee, and quite frankly, yesterday, before HUD was to roll this program out, the Paycheck Protection Plan, at midnight, they had received no input. And that's just not the small one. JP Morgan Chase today was reported they received no input on how to run this program. That is not acceptable. I mean, that's just not acceptable.
Well, what we've heard is that Wells Fargo is not going to take applications today, and that a number of the big ones aren't taking applications just because they need time to understand, how it's going to work.
That's correct. That's correct. So we shall see. I will tell you that we have had numerous calls into SBA over the last 5 days talking about this very issue, and we're going to continue to be haunting them. I will tell you that overall, I've served under 3 administrations so far, and the VA gets back to me because I'm ranking member on the Senate Veterans Affairs Committee. But getting hold of the rest of them, it's unbelievably difficult. It's just unbelievably difficult, especially compared to Bush or Obama. Those folks might not give you the answer you wanted, but at least they got back to you and gave you an answer. These folks just hard to get a hold of, period.
Well, I think you can be really proud of the SBA folks in Montana. They have been incredibly generous with their time and resources toward the nonprofit community in the last couple of weeks, giving us everything they can as soon as they can. That's not the same as getting the loan, but we've appreciated, the attention.
Now, look, and I don't interpret what I'm saying as being critical of the SBA, and I'm not. The SBA folks that I'm critical of, and the HUD folks that I'm critical of, are the folks that I serve with in Washington, D.C.
Right.
When you're asking their upper management people what's going on, they can't answer the questions. Folks on the ground can, by the way. They're career employees. They've been at the business. They know what they're doing. Yeah. We just need that kind of expertise at the top too.
So one of the things on our mind is Census 2020.
Yes.
And, Montana has about 35% of our households have P.O. box addresses instead of household. And census information is only going to household addresses, which means without the leave behind, hanging the census forms on the door, and without the enumerators, Montana is horribly undercounted at this point. And so is there any talk at all about delaying the census until a better time?
There's been some talk about extending out the deadlines, yes, but it hasn't gotten legs. But it hasn't gotten legs yet. But I think that just as we are seeing postponing of the Olympics, for example,
right.
It probably should be delayed and put off for, I don't know. There's people in the business, you may be one of them, Liz, that knows, but is 6 months long enough? Is a year long enough? How long is long enough?
Yeah, I don't know.
You have Red Lodge that has nothing but post office boxes. The entire town has post office boxes.
That's incredible to me.
I know, it was to me too.
I live in the middle of nowhere. It's not the end of the world, but I can see it from the edge of my front porch. And I've got a street address.
Well, having a street, everyone has a street address, but if you get your mail at a P.O. box, they won't, if your mailing address is a P.O. box, they won't use that. So that's what's odd, is that for emergency purposes, like I could get flowers delivered to a street address, but if the mailing address is a PO, then the feds aren't sending in census information. So we really are disadvantaged.
Yeah, I hear what you're saying. Yes.
So I just want to mark that as a concern. And then Can you give a little bit of information about what is in the 1.25 billion that Montana will be getting?
Yeah, so it's, I can, although there's a lot of flexibility in these dollars. It was originally set up to, where 45% of it would go to county and municipalities, okay, 45%. And that's the way it is still set up, except for the fact that if you're less than 500,000 people, then you don't, it goes to the governor's office.
Yeah.
So what it really does is and I know the legislature is trying to play in this, but I think it really does give the governor a lot of flexibility, especially if you're in a real estate like Montana, where you don't have any communities that have 500,000 people in it, to be able to distribute the money. If I were in your shoes, I certainly would be talking to the governor's team about what your needs are, what your concerns are, and what to see if he can help you. I don't know that he can, and I don't know that he won't either.
Right.
But the bottom line is that there's 1.25 billion at a minimum that's coming to the state. That's a lot of damn money, by the way. I mean, that's a lot of money, and I don't know how he's going to distribute it. I know I've had a lot of businesses call me and say, well, can you talk to the governor and see if he'll defer the quarterly taxes? That's not my job to do. That's the governor's job,
right,
to make that decision. But the bottom line is there's a lot of places for it to go. And if I were you, I would absolutely be visiting with, the governor, his chief of staff, his economic developer, whoever it might be, talking about what the impacts this is having on nonprofits. So,
all right. Well, thank you. I know you have a busy schedule. Are there any other questions for the senator?
Hey, Liz, this is Gary Owen, Senator Tester. Thanks for being with us today. You asked early on if we could wave the magic wand, what we would do. First thing that comes to my mind, the $300 charitable giving donation that's being allowed for non-itemizers, I think is a good incentive. But I also think that when we do get through this, it's going to be a very different economic world. And I'm worried that contributions for particularly nonprofits that depend on private contributions are going to be significantly impacted. And kind of wave the magic wand, would love to see above the line deductions for charitable giving.
yeah, look, I'm not going to debate that with you because you're right. Where you guys fall in is where the government fails to fall in, and I've seen a lot of hollowing out of a lot of agencies over the last few years. And I will tell you that where nonprofits roll, I think when we come out of this is going to be more important. And so we'll work to do that. I don't need to tell anybody on this call, or anybody for that matter of fact, I was not a fan of the Trump tax cut package that we passed 2 or 3 years back. There's a number of reasons for it. One of them included the impacts it had on nonprofits. It also put ourselves in this country in a structural imbalance for the amount of money we've got coming in versus the amount of money that's going out, resulting in $1 trillion a year deficits even when times were good. So sorry about the phone. I just hung up on him now. So that's kind of where we're at, and I will keep that in mind to see if we can get that reestablished. I think that's a good point.
Thank you. There's a question about I'm not sure quite what this question means. Where's the agreement on the $600 a week unemployment payment?
Where's what on the $600?
Where is the agreement? Brooke, maybe what you're wondering is just what's happening with that $600 a week unemployment payment. It was part of the Families First.
Yeah. So if that's put forth in the if you have your folks who are unemployed, if this is what you're asking about, get a hold of the Montana Department of Labor and move forward on that, just like you would on any other unemployment cause. And by the way, you guys are eligible for that if you've had to lay people off because of this. Yeah, was that your question, Liz?
I think so. So Brooke, that $600 a week extra payment is through Montana Department of Labor. I mean, it's from the Fed money, but it's through Montana Department of Labor. You would just use DOL. No, I don't think we're waiting for anything to be signed that has been signed in, correct, Senator?
Yeah, that's correct. And Deb, you can correct me if I'm wrong on that, but that's correct to my knowledge, right? If the $600 will flow through the same as your regular unemployment. You're muted, Deb.
Oops. Yes, I believe so.
Great, thank you.
Hear from the boss.
Right. All right, any other questions? Any other questions for Senator Tester right now? All right. We've been pushing a lot of information out. I'm assuming that you welcome folks to contact your office if they have questions or difficulties. I think the biggest thing is there's so much information, but people still don't quite know what to do.
Yeah, you're exactly right, Liz. And I will tell you that I think it's really, really important that if you've got folks out there that have, you know what this is, I'm going to take this and mute them. What's really, really important here is the fact that, yeah, I'm on a call. I'm going to mute you. Just okay.
Michelle's gonna call, but
The point here is that I've got 35 staff. Okay, half of them are in DC, half of them are in Montana. Their job is to be a facilitator for folks who have trouble. We've got an advantage in Montana because there's only 1,060,000 of us, and so we can help a lot of people that need help. And sometimes we're not successful, but we're successful a fair amount of it. So if you've got folks that have challenges, get a hold of us. The only thing I would say is this, and this happened to us yesterday, where a guy couldn't get into an SBA account because he forgot his password. I can't help you on that, okay? All right.
I'm devastated, but okay, thank you. Okay, well, thank you so much. And the chat box has a lot of thanks to you, and very, very much appreciate your time and your efforts. And let us know how we can be of service. You know, Deb and I communicate, and I'll continue to send her information as we get it.
So the door's always open. You call me anytime. It doesn't matter. We'll get on it. You know, my staff does the work. I take the credit for it, and we'll help you. Just if you got an issue, call us. Okay.
Okay. Thanks very much.
call from Congress.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Now join your meeting.
Okay, Montana Nonprofits, thanks for joining us. And Deb, thanks for helping us get this set. Thank you to you and your full team. We really appreciate it. And folks, if friends, if you have questions, please get in touch with Senator Tester's office or any of our congressionals. They are here, we're constituents. And I think it's to their credit that nonprofits are fully included in the CARES Act and the Families First Act as viable partners and businesses. So thank you, and please send us information as you go through the system. It's helpful to MNA to know how we can support you. And of course, even more than that, as you run into issues regarding your constituencies and want support from the governor's office or congressionals, and we can be advocates in that regard, please let us know. So thanks very much. And I hope our staff has a happy hour planned pretty soon. We had to wait, till after 3, but I hope you're doing the same and have a wonderful weekend.